What's up? It's Tom. Thanks for clicking on this video. Got another talk about kind of MLB in general, the state of Major League Baseball and fandom. So in the last video, I pointed out that you can't really be mad at the Dodgers or these players signing with the Dodgers. But okay, how do we move on? Pointing out that there's just a bunch of bad owners. On top of that, there's a bunch of really non-competitive owners who are way more interested in breaking even or taking a profit than they are in winning anything. So how do we deal with that if you're not a Dodger fan or one of the bigger, teams? How do we deal with that? So what now? Why even bother? Why even bother? If you're not one of these teams that's actually really going out and trying hard, why bother? Well, I kind of pointed this out in the last video a little bit, but I want to expand on it a little bit more. Baseball is super random. There's always going to be, great teams. There's always going to be high payroll teams that run into bad luck or injuries. So we're looking at just the past 10 years here. We don't have to go back decades or anything. I realize it's a little tricky having these conversations because on the one hand, I'm saying, hey, these owners need to spend more. These owners need to try harder. They need to be more invested in winning. And now in this video, I'm kind of flipping it around and saying, well, sometimes you don't need to spend a lot of money to win. Both are true. I can understand anybody that hears me point both of these things out and says I'm talking out two sides of my mouth, but not everything has to make perfect sense. All right. Here's a fun fact for you. The last time the Mets were in the World Series, they had a bottom 10 payroll. We saw there on 2015, I think that was. The NLCS champion Mets in 2015 had an opening day payroll of $101.4 million, ranking 21st in Major League Baseball. They beat the top spending Dodgers in the first full round of the playoffs, the divisional round. Here's the problem too. How can we justify supporting our teams that aren't trying, that aren't spending, our owners that are completely satisfied just breaking even or pocketing money? Owners are not the team. Okay, you can not be satisfied with how your owner operates and still look at the team as beyond that. These are players, these are coaches, this is front office, this is scouts, this is trainers, this is layers upon layers upon layers. This is the mascot. Okay, this could be the building, the stadium is part of the team. There are so many layers of what makes a team that go so beyond just the one dude or the one family that owns the team. You can passionately disagree with, or maybe even go so far as hate your team's owner and still justify supporting your team, in my opinion. Yes, that support is technically then supporting that owner. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in a way. But as I pointed out in the last video, your impact isn't going to make that much difference to these guys. They're already raking in like $200 million before a pitch is thrown. So they're getting that money anyway. This stuff is in our DNA. It's who we are. This is our community. This is part of who we are. Again, the team, the players, the folklore of these teams, the buildings, just the stadiums. We have history. We have memories. We may have great friends through our teams. We may have familial connections through our teams. I know people in the Twin Cities who are still Cubs fans because their grandpa, their dad, their great-grandpa, they've been hardcore baseball fans since before the Twins were in Minnesota in 1961. They were Cubs fans, and that's just been passed down throughout generations. So the Twins are more of their second team, and they're primarily Cubs fans. It's who they are. It's in their DNA. What else? Keep in mind, no temporary owner gets to extinguish that enthusiasm. That's something I'm really holding on to. Fans of other teams right now who are rolling their eyes out of their heads about a Twins fan talking about being mad at ownership when, the Twins have been around middle in payroll, and there's so many other fan bases that have gone through so much worse. The Twins, at least they're on the middle. They have one of the higher paid players in baseball, top 10, top 15, depending on you look at it. They've extended some other guys. So, this kind of woe is me mentality. I realize if you're a Rays fan or a Marlins fan, or a A's fan, Jesus, especially an Oakland-based A's fan, I got nothing to complain about compared to some of these other teams. Pirates fans, so I'm not trying to make it sound like the Twins are Twins fans are the most, mistreated fan base in MLB or anything. Unfortunately, there's a good number of us that have owners that aren't going for it, but they have the power to do that and make those decisions. And, we can't force them to spend. We can't force them to invest in these teams. We can't force them to care more about winning. But we also cannot let them take these teams away from us. And again, I know that's kind of easier to say as a Twins fan than some other teams that are even further down in payroll, but I do feel that pretty strongly. And kind of another thing on tying in our new Dodger friends again. Fun fact, the Twins had a higher payroll than the Dodgers in 2011. That was the last time the Twins had a higher payroll than the Dodgers, right after Target Field was opened. And the Twins still lost 99 games that year. I laugh, but I cry on the inside. The Twins ranked 9th in payroll that season and went 63-99. The Dodgers ranked 12th in payroll that year. It's pretty crazy to think that the Twins ever outspent the Dodgers, especially the current state of the Dodgers now, but that was a ways back, but it wasn't all that long ago. One last point to consider, and this is another thing I touched on in the zine a little bit, is expectations. And I know this is silly. We would all much prefer to be in the Dodger fan situation right now, right? Where you're having the best offseason of anybody. You just won the World Series. Expectation is basically going to be to win the World Series. That is amazing. I'm not trying to say it's not. I would love to be in that situation myself with my team, but it does create a ton of opportunity for being let down, for being dissatisfied. And I think if you want to see the other side of that coin, just look at the team they beat in the World Series. Just look at Yankee fans, the state of Yankee fans right now, a team that went to the World Series, a team that won the American League, and just kind of how things have gone. It's actually been a while since the Yankees have won the World Series, and for them to have the best record in the American League, go to the World Series again, that should be considered a very successful season. But with the way things ended, with them losing in the World Series, with Game 5, I think it was, being a very embarrassing loss, and then losing Juan Soto, we think about fandom a lot, and expectations can kind of be a curse. You want your team to be expected to do well. You want your team to set the bar high. You want your team to want to win. But it's not all positives. Well, there's 30 different teams. There's 30 different flavors of fandom, I think. Satisfaction for a Dodgers fan, it might be kind of elusive in 2025. Now, I would expect, with the way things look, I think we can expect that team to deliver on their promise that they're showing and have a pretty wonderful season. But when the bar is set at win the World Series, there is a lot of opportunity to be let down there. So, root for a team that doesn't spend money and that finished 2 games over 500 and that isn't adding anybody in the offseason and is giving you such low expectations that you're just bound to be satisfied. That's the lesson here. I realize I'm sending all sorts of mixed messages, but hopefully some of that made sense. Or, at the very least, I distracted you from other worse things than baseball in life for a few minutes here. Again, this has been Tom. I appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.